Okay, so the last area that I want to cover for you guys that is frequently taught in Filipino martial arts is something called lock flow. Now, I'm going to show you my version of lock flow, but first of all, I need to explain to you guys what it is, okay? So lock flow is basically, it is a learning tool. What happens is I'm training with my partner and they feed me an attack and I could, defend, and then I go into a technique. So I could go into like an arm lock like this, and then I can switch into a shoulder lock like so, and then I can change this into a come along, change it into a wrist lock, and I keep going. I keep changing it into various techniques. I could do a takedown or whatever. So you're going from one technique to the next, and a lot of it is joint locks. That's why it's called lock flow. Even though a lot of it is joint locks, it's not all joint locks. So if they throw a strike, I can block right here, and then I can get them in an arm lock right here, but I could also strike. I could put in some strikes and then go into techniques as well. So it is a mixture of joint locks, strikes, takedowns, throws, and disarms. There's a lot of things that can happen, but you're going from one technique to the next. That's the flowing part. You're transitioning, okay? So it's a really, really good partner exercise when you're training with a partner, and it'll help you guys get some repetitions and to help memorize the moves, okay? It is not a realistic method. So in other words, it's not combat ready. It was never designed for that. This is, once again, a learning tool to help you get familiar with the many, many different techniques available to you. So you can't get that confused. And unfortunately, there are a million people, tons of people that get it totally confused, and they think that that's the way it's going to happen in a real life situation, and it's not, okay? So in a real life situation, what happens here is that we're talking, if I'm able to grab their arm and put them in a joint lock or a wrist lock or whatever, at this point, you have to understand, we're very close to each other. We're either in medium range or we are in close range. If I can grab, this is close range. This is CQC. And the reality is this person would be trying to take my head off. And we are in the middle of combat, of fighting. And that means that there's going to be a lot of aggression. It's going to be intense. It's going to be chaotic. And because we're so close, it's so fast and it's brutal. So it's like you're inside a hurricane, okay, inside a tornado. It's just all this craziness is happening. No matter how trained you are to try to see and figure out and do stuff is extremely, extremely difficult and highly unlikely. So what you need here at this point is you need a reference point. And the reference point will help you start from there. So once you get to the reference point, you could start going into a strategy. So what exactly is a reference point? Like I said, at this time right now, this guy is trying to take my head out. Boom! They're attacking me like crazy, okay? So while all this is happening, I should be defending because I know that medium range and close range is a very dangerous place, especially medium range. So I should already be defending. But once again, I need that reference point. And a reference point, all it is a solid grab, that I could grab a hold of my opponent very solid, whatever it is. So in a street fight, a lot of people, I see headlocks. That's very, very common. People just grab each other in a headlock, and that is a reference point. It's a solid, because it's so crazy and chaotic, it's very natural, so you want to hold on. You hold on and get control, so the headlock happens. A bear hug, where you grab a hold of their waist, okay? Slam them against the wall or against the car. This kind of thing happens. You hold on to them via bear hug, okay? You might end up more on the side or towards the back, but it's still a bear hug. You're grabbing on. Muay Thai kickboxers, they grab. They have head control, so they grab your head. Wrestlers are also very, very good with head control. They'll snap your head down, and they'll control you that way, okay? So those are all reference points. Reference points, all it means is somewhere where you could get a solid grip. Judo guys will grab your sleeve, your collar, and then from there they can start working, because until then, you can't. So you see people like, you know, in a judo match, they're trying to get sleeve control, they're trying to get collar control, and the person just shoves you off, and they're just moving around. So until they can get a solid a grip, it's very, very difficult. And this is also why hockey players, when they get into a fight, they grab the jersey, because, you know, the terrain is, they're on ice, and it's very slippery. It's very hard to get a control of someone when they're just trying to brawl at you. So it's, once again, it's natural and it makes sense to try to grab a hold of something and work from there. And also that helps to slow things down, kind of. So that is the idea there. So we need the reference point. And the reference point that I want to show you guys today, very, very simple. And it's a good one. And it works very well with Filipino martial arts. And that is an overhook, where I bring my arm over their arm, and an underhook, where it's the opposite. I'm bringing my arm underneath their arm. Okay, so it's just overhook, underhook. That's it. It's not difficult to remember that. So those are the two reference points that I want you guys to get. So in the middle of all this going on, and if you end up right here, and then they're going to keep punching you, they're going to shove you, whatever, who knows, they might try to throw you, anything can happen. So from right here, I'm going to go boom, and grab a hold. And from here, I could start going, okay, now what's going to happen? Now what is my strategy? So I can start thinking from there. So if I get an overhook, one of the things that you can do that is right there is to just go boom, like so. This is called an arm range. This is his arm. My arm is wrapped around. I don't care if their arm is, they're also grabbing back, so their arm is bent around like this, or if the arm is more straight. I don't care. The arm could be bent this way, and none of that matters. The idea here is I'm just going to throw my weight into it like I'm throwing a punch with my right hand, repeatedly on their arm. So that's going to cause shock. If I'm able to catch it and put the damage right on their elbow and snap their arm like this, then that would be great. If I don't, and I'm hitting more on the tricep, that's still fine. I'm causing shock to the body this way. If I could get a bonus uppercut, that would be nice. But the main idea is to repeatedly cause this kind of distraction, okay, right onto the arm. That's right there. It doesn't require a whole lot for me to do to get into that position. Now, if I have the underhook right here, the idea here is I'm going to go all the way like so, where their arm is going to be pinned against my face and my shoulder. So I pin the arm right here. I create the space by shoving their face away. So what I'm doing is I'm now exposing their shoulder so that their arm's going to be more like this. Okay. So from here, I'm going to repeatedly, same idea, repeatedly do this. I might get a bonus elbow strike here, but I'm putting pressure on their elbow like so. And that's right there as well. So it's because the technique is right there, it doesn't require you to think a whole lot. So in the middle of chaos, boom, I come to here, I just go all the way, push his head, and just repeatedly crank on their shoulder. Now, you can't just get the reference point and stay there. I highly don't recommend it. The reason why you're doing this stuff is because, let's think about it, okay? Every technique has a counter move. So there's no such thing as a perfect technique. And if I get this reference point and I just try to stay here, they're going to figure this out. They're going to figure ways to attack me. And one of the worst things that could happen is, let's think about it. Right here, my arm is over their arm, right? So let me do it to Stickman, where their arm is over my arm. So in other words, my arm is underneath. So right here, this means that I could throw them. It's a hip toss. So I don't want to get hip tossed. So if I put my arm over here, I'm in danger that they're going to grab me like so, and they're going to hip toss me. So in order for that to not happen, I need to create the space, because they'd have to be a Superman to be able to throw me, to do a hip toss from here. It's very difficult. But if I'm right close to them and they get their hip underneath my hip, then it's going to be very easy for them to do a hip toss. So I'm creating the space and I'm doing this move. I'm punching at their arm repeatedly. So this is called the arm wrench. And this helps me get the advantage here rather than giving the advantage to them. Now let's look at the underhook again. So if I get the underhook, I can't just get the underhook and stay here, because once again, they're going to figure out ways to attack me. And let's think about this position too. Because my arm is right here, and if I don't create the space and push their face all the way over like this, and I don't repeatedly drill my forearm into their neck and put even elbow and put that pressure on their shoulder, if I don't do it, because their arm is right here, right next to my head, they could just get me in a headlock. So that would be really, really bad. They might take me all the way down to the ground and start punching my face or something. I definitely don't want to be involved in that. So it's very important for me to do this and force their face away so that they can't do this. I'm pushing the face away and cranking the shoulder down, and that puts me in a stronger position. So once again, it's very important to get to the reference point, but you can't just stay there. There is a strategy that continues on from there. And once again, that is to cause enough damage and enough distraction that you throw them off their game. And then from there, after you repeatedly crank, that you can get out of there. So you repeatedly do this and get out of there. Okay, so that is the idea.